Welcome to this Blasmo teaching podcast, and today we are going to learn about a flipped classroom. Flipped classroom methodology, what it is, how it can be used in the classroom, some examples of past lesson plans, kind of the positives of it, and as well as the negatives or maybe drawbacks of it. So when we look at the traditional class and kind of how I know I've been taught in the past, and maybe others, we kind of look over materials before class, and then we attend class and kind of get a lecture or maybe a PowerPoint on the board, things of that nature, and we're taking notes. And then after class, we have some type of an assignment. We have a quiz, maybe after class. We maybe have a homework assignment that we have to do. But when we look into a flipped classroom, I will see you basically you're preparing your students before class even starts. So an example of that would be sending them a PowerPoint that is already there for them that they have to look over before the class time even starts. Certain activities before class, so that in class they have key concepts already and they are using those key concepts with feedback. So again, the general idea of a flipped classroom is there's stuff beforehand that sometimes is done in a regular class in class, whereas in a flipped it's before, and then the in class is used for specific time to understand deeper concepts, and the teacher is just there for feedback. So I'm going to kind of go into the positives of this before I give a couple examples. So in a flipped classroom, one big thing is students are going to learn more deeply. There's been studies, I looked over a couple articles before doing this podcast of student learning, and from those articles, from those studies, they did in fact find that students had a deeper way of learning. So again, that's the biggest thing that kind of draws me towards this method, is when they're in class, they are, again, not just getting superficial PowerPoints. That is already in their mind. So when they are in class, they are truly having a sense of concepts of whatever that is, in math, in reading, physical education for myself. They're understanding it more deeply. Students are more active participants in learning, again, because they need to be. They really need to be. You have the PowerPoint, you have the notes that professors, you have videos that professors send before class. So you need to be ready. You need to be active during class, and I really like that about this method. And then interactions increases with students, and they learn from one another. They're bouncing ideas off each other of what they comprehended before class, and they're learning. They're communicating better with each other, not just sitting in a desk and having to note take or fill in presentations, things of that nature. Not saying, again, there's time and places for that as well. Not saying one way is better than the other, but this can be used in a great way. And lastly, instructors and students get way more feedback. Rather than lecturing all class, for myself, I love walking around. I coach basketball. That's one of my things that I love. I just love to walk around, give pointers here, ask questions here, listen to students, what they're saying, truly comprehending. Are they getting what I want them to get out of it? So those are some big positives of what this would look like. So for a couple of examples of kind of diving deeper, this first one, this is a very simple one, very simple for elementary, maybe even before that, pre-K, kindergarten, stuff like that. No, maybe not, sorry. But anyway, so pre-class activities in this lesson plan, you're learning about basically jumping over obstacles in life, things of that nature. So for the pre-class activities, or what students will get beforehand, um, they will match animals with their descriptions, and then they'll look at words about moving through physical challenges, whatever that's maze, obstacles, whatever things. Students do tasks where they choose words according to the definition and match words to their pictures. So they're doing all of this before the class time. So once they get in class, again, deeper learning, the biggest thing in class activities. In class, students will say what they remember, kind of feedback wise of what they learned beforehand. They will answer questions. And then in this lesson plan, there's a video of a maze and choosing the best way to get out of that maze. And in the end, kind of students, I like this one, find their way through a maze and they explain the route that they will follow. So they're learning beforehand, different obstacles, different animals, things of that nature. And in class, deeper framework, they themselves will find their way through a maze, and kind of explain why they took that route. And again, another way to find deeper understanding in yourself, as well as learn feedback from students. Why did they choose this way? Why did I do this? And even the teacher. Well, I think this might be a better way, etc., etc. So again, they're learning deeper. They're finding ways to communicate better with not only themselves, but with others. And then this other lesson, this is a business. I believe this is a database, designing databases. So this is a true lesson plan, kind of the overview and introduction. This session and journey will begin your journey of learning of how to design and use databases. They're introduced to the first stage of development, conceptual data modeling, in which they analyze. The ER model is a popular tool for conceptual data modeling. You will learn the main features of what it is. Kind of the learning objectives are defined here. Define ER, define entity, give 3 examples, distinguish different types of attributes, relationships, distinguish 3 types of relationships, and define relationships and distinguish the maximum and minimum cardinalities. So that's kind of the lesson plan of what that kind of looks like. And then in this lesson plan, I'll kind of scroll up here. So this is kind of what it looks like. Again, basic objectives and advanced objectives. And here it is. So in the beginning of class, they have 5 minutes of a short quiz, 5 to 8 questions, and they're simple. And then we move into the class period where they have activities of mini lecture based, what's the muddiest point, questions submitted before the class period. And then we move on, activities, student work in small groups to draw simple ER diagrams based on given requirements. The challenges to understand various notations. So here we find them again working in small groups, understanding what ER is, understanding the first lesson of what databases are. And we continue on, and the instructor shows students what ER diagram, ER diagram should look like, and then they go on to another activity. And then to end class, ask students to comment and evaluate the class on a sheet of paper. Also write down the muddiest points they're still not clear about. So again, before class they wrote about it, and after class, again, that allows the teacher to kind of hone in on what may have worked, what may have not worked during this time, during this method, and things of that nature. So just kind of 2 examples, not in the realm of mine. Again, I'm hoping to become a physical education teacher, and I think I can use this kind of flip method in a lot of ways, in my opinion. One that I think of, oh gosh, off the top of my head would be maybe kind of working on sprint mechanics in gym class. You know, giving them things to look at, different videos of acceleration work, kind of different angles of what that looks like, what I'm looking for, as a teacher, kind of why sprinting matters, not only in athletes but as well as the general population. And then going into the kind of a deeper framework in class, where we spend time talking about it beforehand, and then we kind of get into different activities, different type of drills on a wall, different accelerations, why we do this, why we do that, what'd you do here, things of that nature. So just a great method overall. And lastly, I think the biggest downfall, or just the biggest basically the biggest downfall of this method would just be student engagement. That's the biggest thing, right? We are giving these students things before class to look at. We're giving them videos, presentations, maybe quizzes, or just general statements to look at. And that's on their own time. And that's the biggest thing. Will they do it? Or will they not do it? Because if they're not doing it to the full capacity, then that deep framework in class isn't going to be there. So that's the biggest downfall that I see from this flipped classroom, that you wouldn't get in traditional, because you're learning it in class. So that's basically the gist of it, of what a flipped classroom would look like, kind of the methods, why is it different from a traditional classroom, a couple of examples of how it is used, and just deeper understanding. So I hope you guys learned a little bit of what flipped classroom method is, and in education, and that ends kind of this podcast today of Blasmo Education. Thank you.